You don't get what you want. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you are. This is not just a nice quote to put on your wall. This is a universal law, as unshakable as gravity. And yet most people live in complete contradiction to this truth. They chase outcomes instead of transforming identity. They daydream about success, but think with the mindset of someone who's still failing. They talk about abundance, but operate from scarcity. They say they want freedom, but live like prisoners of their habits, routines, and inner dialogue. And then they wonder why nothing changes, why the success feels far away, why life doesn't reward them for trying. But here's the truth most will never confront. Life does not respond to what you want. Life responds to who you are. Every result you see around you, your bank account, your relationships, your energy, your self-worth, is a mirror. Not of your dreams, but of your dominant identity. Your identity is the thermostat of your life. You might want more, but if your internal setting is stuck on fear, doubt, or survival, that's exactly where you'll return every single time, no matter how high you try to climb. You will sabotage, delay, or ignore opportunities that don't match the version of you that you believe you are. And that's why success doesn't start with strategy. It starts with identity. It starts with a choice to become the kind of person who naturally attracts the things you've been chasing. That's what the law of attraction truly means. It's not magic. It's mechanics. It's not about wishing harder. It's about aligning deeper. The law of attraction does not reward desire. It rewards calibration. Are you calibrated to the frequency of success? Or are you tuned to the old station of who you used to be? You cannot attract what your nervous system doesn't believe is safe to hold. You cannot receive what your subconscious mind still sees as unfamiliar. That's why autosuggestion is everything. You must recondition the way you speak to yourself, the way you visualize your life, the way you show up every single day. When you speak with power, when you move with clarity, when you choose discipline over comfort, you are sending new instructions to your subconscious. And the mind, through repetition, begins to accept them as fact. Understand this. Your mind does not respond to truth. It responds to repetition. It responds to emotional intensity. So if you keep reinforcing weakness, failure, hesitation, you are rehearsing that version of yourself into existence. But if you consistently feed it strength, vision, certainty, if you rehearse power, the brain begins to shift. Identity begins to evolve. And as your identity changes, everything else does too. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. And those standards are set by identity. Millionaires don't become millionaires because they hit some lucky jackpot. They become millionaires because they develop the habits, the beliefs, the structure to hold wealth long before it arrives. Success doesn't land in your lap. It lands where it's safe, where it's earned, where it's expected. If you're constantly hoping, wishing, waiting, you're not creating. You're reacting. You're outsourcing your power. And power cannot be outsourced. It must be claimed, embodied, owned, every single day. Before the money arrives, before the breakthrough comes, before the world believes in you, you must believe in you. You must speak like it, think like it, move like it. This is why identity is not optional. It is the foundation. Because if you don't choose your identity, your past will choose it for you. And your past does not care about your potential. It only knows what's familiar. That's why most people repeat their results year after year. Not because they lack talent, not because they don't work hard, but because their self-image has not evolved. They're stuck living in an identity that was shaped by fear, by failure, by the opinions of others. But you, if you're here, if you're listening, you're not here to repeat. You're here to reinvent, to rewire, to rise. And that means every day you must ask yourself, am I acting from identity or insecurity? from vision or from memory, from creation or from reaction. Because the version of you that has the life you want already exists. It's not in the future. It's in you now, waiting to be activated. Not by chance, but by choice. You must walk like that version, speak like that version, make decisions like that version, invest time, energy, and focus like that version. And when you do, the gap between where you are and where you want to be begins to collapse. Not because you forced the world to change, but because you became the kind of person that reality couldn't ignore. The law of attraction is not about chasing, it's about becoming. When you become the person who attracts success, success becomes inevitable. Not because it was handed to you, but because you built the capacity to receive it, hold it, and expand it. That's the work, that's the code. That's the truth most avoid because it's not easy, but it's worth it. You're not here to wish, you're here to align. You're here to step into the identity that no longer waits to be chosen. You choose yourself. You calibrate to greatness. You become undeniable. Here's what most people never understand. Wanting something often creates more distance from it. Want is the energy of lack. It declares to your subconscious and to the universe that what you desire is separate from you, outside of you, unreachable in the present moment. When you want, you affirm to yourself that you don't yet have it, and that internal confirmation becomes the command that your life obeys. Because every time you say, I want, you're saying, I lack. Every time you chase, you confirm you're behind. Every time you long for a future version of yourself, you reinforce the belief that your current self is not enough. This is the trap. And it's invisible to most people because it wears the mask of ambition. They think desire alone creates destiny. But unchecked desire rooted in lack creates frustration, stagnation, and burnout. It becomes an endless pursuit where you're always one step away from fulfillment. The irony is brutal. The more you chase, the more the finish line moves. When you speak, think, and act from lack, you broadcast scarcity. And whether you call it energy, frequency, or subconscious programming, the truth remains. The world responds not to your intentions, but to your state. And that state is built by repetition. What you feel, think, and embody consistently becomes the identity the world reflects back to you. This is why people stuck in cycles of limitation rarely break free through force alone. Because the force is fueled by resistance, and resistance amplifies the problem. The universe, life, reality, it mirrors what you are, not what you wish to be. It does not speak the language of longing. It responds to embodiment. And your current reality is not punishing you. It's reflecting you. That's the part that hurts the most, but also the part that gives you power. Your energy, your words, your habits, these are declarations to the universe. You are speaking every second, even in silence. Every thought is a signal. Every emotion is a command. Every behavior is a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. And the universe doesn't react to your daydreams. It responds to your standards. You can write all the affirmations you want, but if your actions are soaked in fear, your posture slouched in doubt, your mindset shackled to smallness, then those words are empty. The real affirmation is how you carry yourself. The real manifestation happens in the choices you make when no one is watching. You can't fake alignment. You can't pretend belief. Your life will always expose what you truly are calibrated to receive. So if you want to attract success, stop trying to chase it like a beggar hoping for a miracle. Stop bowing before it as if it's a prize that only the chosen get to touch. You must become its equal. You must meet success not with desperation, but with dignity. You must prepare your inner world to host the outer life you desire. That means shifting your focus from wanting to being, from chasing to choosing, from lacking to embodying. Because the mindset of the successful is not built on constant hunger, but on alignment. They don't move from scarcity. they move from identity. They don't need to convince themselves they deserve it. They've already become the version of themselves who does. Don't ask for success. Embody someone who deserves it. That shift changes everything. It rewires your actions, your thoughts, your standards. And standards are the invisible architecture of reality. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you tolerate. And when your standards change, your life is forced to follow. Success doesn't arrive at your door uninvited. It shows up when it sees a life designed to sustain it. When you become the type of person who naturally thinks, behaves, decides, and perseveres at the level success demands, then success is no longer a visitor. It becomes a resident. Because now you are someone who doesn't just achieve success, you attract it, sustain it, and expand it. Success is not a reward for good behavior. It's a natural consequence of alignment. It's not about earning approval. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs external permission to rise. Alignment means your thoughts, actions, emotions, and identity are in sync with the outcome you desire. It means your subconscious and your conscious mind are allies, not enemies. It means your habits aren't betraying your goals. And when that happens, effort feels different. It's not forced, it's flowing, because you're not trying to escape who you are. You're expressing it. Success then becomes inevitable, not accidental. Predictable, not rare. It's not about trying harder. It's about becoming clearer. The greatest trap is thinking you need to get something before you can become someone. The truth is the reverse. When you become someone, the things you once chased begin to find you. And they don't arrive by magic. They arrive because your internal operating system has changed. You've upgraded your default settings. You've uninstalled the old beliefs, the outdated programming that whispered you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. And you've installed clarity, confidence, congruence. You've stopped fighting your future and started living from it. That's how alignment works. That's how identity creates destiny. You must rewire who you are, not just how you think, but who you believe yourself to be at the deepest level. Because the life you live is always a perfect reflection of the identity you carry. You are not chasing results. You are acting out a script written by your subconscious self-image. And if that image is small, conflicted, confused, or still attached to past failures, then no matter how hard you try, your actions will sabotage your progress to stay loyal to that outdated identity. You must let go of the version of yourself that keeps repelling the very future you say you want. You cannot carry scarcity into abundance. Scarcity is a lens that distorts opportunity. It turns possibilities into threats. It makes you play defense in a world built for boldness. You cannot carry insecurity into power, because power demands conviction, and conviction cannot coexist with constant self-doubt. You cannot carry chaos into clarity, because clarity requires stillness, discipline, and intentionality. Transformation demands sacrifice, not of your dreams, but of the version of you that keeps lowering your standards to survive instead of raising them to thrive. What dies in this process is not your essence, it's your mask. The false identity you've built to cope with fear. The reactive self that learned to shrink, avoid, please, and hide. That version of you was never designed to lead your future. It was built to survive your past, and survival is not the goal. You are here to lead, to grow, to expand, to live as the full force of your potential. Rewiring your identity is not about pretending you're confident. It's not about putting on a show. It's about uncovering the version of you that already exists, but has been silenced by years of false programming. Because at your core, beneath every limiting belief, beneath the shame, the guilt, the hesitation, you are precise, clear, powerful, and built for greatness. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is not wishful thinking. It is your original blueprint. You were born with power, then taught to doubt it. You were born with vision, then taught to obey limitation. Your job is not to become someone new. It's to unlearn who you were told to be and return to who you've always been. But that return must be earned through deliberate choice, through repetition, through the uncomfortable process of breaking your old patterns and installing new truths. You must stop rehearsing the old story of why you can't, why you're not ready, why you don't belong. Those thoughts are not facts. They are habits. And like any habit, they can be broken and replaced. This is identity rewiring. It's not passive. It's a daily battle. A moment-by-moment decision to reject the outdated version of you and replace it with someone who moves, speaks, decides, and persists like their vision already exists. You do not become that person by chance. You become them by design. You create rituals that support your future, environments that elevate your energy, people who reflect your greatness, and thoughts that align with the life you say you want. And you do it over and over until the old identity no longer fits, until the new self is no longer a costume. It's your default setting. That's how transformation becomes permanent. That's how success becomes natural. Not because you forced the world to give you more, but because you finally became the version of you that can receive it, hold it, and expand it. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not luck, talent, or timing. It's mindset. More precisely, it's identity, the internal blueprint that shapes how you think, what you see, and how you respond to the world. Every result you've ever created has been the echo of a thought pattern born from the person you believe yourself to be. A millionaire mindset doesn't just make better decisions. It operates from a completely different paradigm. It doesn't ask, "Can I afford this?" It asks, "How can I create this?" It doesn't shrink in front of risk. It studies risk, manages it, and moves through it. While most people wait for permission, the millionaire identity acts with assumption, the assumption of worth, the assumption of ability, the assumption of inevitable growth. Where others see obstacles, it sees opportunities in disguise. Where others hear rejection, it hears redirection. Where others get paralyzed by failure, it extracts the data and upgrades its next move. This isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. The person with a scarcity mindset walks into a room thinking, "I hope I'm enough." The person with a wealth mindset enters that same room thinking, "Let's see who else is playing at my level." Scarcity believes the world is a zero-sum game, that if someone else wins, you must lose, that there's not enough money, not enough attention, not enough chances. But abundance knows better. It knows that value is infinite because creation never stops. It knows that the mind is the ultimate generator of opportunity, and the only ceiling that exists is the one you've agreed to live under. When you're wired for lack, you avoid challenges. You overthink, you delay, you dream and never build. You secretly resent those who take action, because their boldness reflects your hesitation. But when you're wired for greatness, you step into tension. You make decisions from vision, not fear. You execute without the constant need for external validation. You speak from clarity. You walk into uncertainty with courage. The truth is, millionaires, and not just financially, but in life, influence, peace, are not people who stumbled into success. They are people who trained their identity to live at the altitude of success long before the world could see it. They paid the inner price. They outgrew their excuses. They unlearned the beliefs that kept them small and replaced them with a standard that would terrify the average mind. They didn't get lucky. They got intentional. They stopped outsourcing their power and reclaimed it. Until you think like that, until your thoughts, words, decisions, and emotions rise to that frequency, nothing you build will last. Because you don't attract what you fantasize about. You attract what you embody. You don't get the life you admire. You get the one that matches your patterns, the one that reflects your rituals, the one that mirrors your self-talk. You can follow every tactic in the book, But if your identity is still built on fear, doubt, and limitation, your results will always sabotage themselves to stay loyal to that inner blueprint. Change the identity, and you change the results. Upgrade the mindset, and the strategies finally start working. Because the world doesn't respond to who you pretend to be, it responds to who you are on autopilot. So if you want to rise, don't chase outcomes. Reconstruct the inner framework from which those outcomes flow. Start thinking like the person who has already arrived. Start moving like the person who already knows. That's when reality begins to shift. Not because you forced the external, but because you finally became the version of you that the external world naturally bows to. Your identity is not static. It is not some fixed label stamped on you at birth. It is a living, breathing construction, built moment by moment, thought by thought, action by action. It is not something you discover, it is something you design. And the tools you use to design it are your daily rituals, not your dreams, not your goals, but your habits. Because every repeated choice, every consistent behavior, is a vote for the person you are in the process of becoming. You are not what you occasionally do, you are what you consistently embody. If your actions are scattered, reactive, undisciplined, then no matter how powerful your intentions, your identity will remain fragmented and weak. Ask yourself, what does my routine say about me? Not what I hope for, not what I say out loud, but what I do when nobody is watching, what I prioritize, what I tolerate, what I pursue without being forced. If you claim you want to become wealthy, powerful, respected, fulfilled, but you start your mornings in chaos, spend your time numbing yourself with distractions, and avoid the very tasks that would move your life forward, then you are living a contradiction. You are programming yourself for mediocrity while fantasizing about excellence. And the universe responds not to your wishes, but to your consistency. Because the truth is this: every action you take either reinforces the identity you're trying to escape, or constructs the identity you're striving to become. There is no neutral action. There is no pause button. Every moment is a deposit into one version of you or the other. So become relentless about integrity between your vision and your execution. Become obsessed with alignment. If you say you want focus, then guard your attention like your life depends on it, because it does. If you say you want clarity, then cut off the noise, stop tolerating confusion, and start making sharp, intentional decisions. Wake up with purpose, not just because it sounds good, but because your future self depends on it. Speak with intention, not as a performance, but as a reflection of the inner order you've cultivated. Move your body, not just for aesthetics, but because discipline in one area bleeds into every other. Clean your environment, track your progress. Eliminate the small lies you tell yourself daily, like, "I'll do it later," or "I deserve a break," when you haven't earned one. The small things are not small. They are the bricks, the rituals, the proof. You don't become high value by talking about it. You become high value by becoming the kind of person who does high value things, even when no one is clapping, especially then. You don't build a powerful identity through force of will alone, but through force of repetition, through systems, through daily decisions that honor your future more than your feelings. Discipline is not restriction. It is liberation from the lower self that keeps sabotaging your potential. And you will not feel like doing it most days. But feelings are not the ruler here. Vision is. Standards are. The person who waits for motivation is owned by circumstance. The person who moves regardless of emotion is owned by purpose. If you want to shift your identity, shift your rituals. If you want to change how you feel about yourself, change what you do repeatedly. You don't transform through occasional inspiration. You transform through daily evidence. Show yourself who you are through action. And eventually, your mind will stop arguing. Your identity will catch up to the patterns. And you'll become someone you used to admire, simply because you had the discipline to become them. Stop waiting for permission to become the person you dream of being. No one is coming to crown you. No one is going to knock on your door and hand you your future. The version of you that you admire, the one who is bold, focused, disciplined, courageous, that version is not waiting on results to show up. That version is waiting on you to decide. Embody that version now, not someday. Not when the timing is perfect. Not when the world finally sees your worth. Now, before there's applause, before there's comfort, before there's external validation. Embodiment is the secret to transformation. Not information, not inspiration, embodiment. You must step into the energy of your future self now, even while your current circumstances try to convince you otherwise. Most people wait for evidence before they believe. They wait for income before they call themselves successful. They wait for compliments before they feel confident. They wait for certainty before they take action. And that is why they stay stuck. Because transformation doesn't work that way. It doesn't wait for proof. It creates the proof. It builds the evidence by moving in faith. When you embody the person you intend to become before you feel ready, you collapse the gap between now and your vision. You stop reinforcing the identity of the old you and begin aligning every cell of your being with the reality you desire. You speak with clarity not because others believe you, but because you've already decided to believe yourself. You walk like someone who knows where they're going, even if the path is still unfolding. You lead without a title. You strategize without all the data. You move as a force of nature, not because the world told you you're powerful, but because you stopped waiting for the world to agree. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is not fake it till you make it. This is train it until you are it. You are not pretending. You are practicing the frequency of your future, practicing the habits, the posture, the decisions of someone who lives in the results you say you want. You are rewiring your nervous system to normalize abundance, to normalize decisiveness, to normalize presence and confidence and discipline, until what once felt like fantasy becomes your new emotional baseline. Until the behaviors that used to feel like a stretch feel like second nature. Until your reality catches up with the version of you who refused to wait. Because here's the truth no one talks about. The results don't change you. You change, and then the results arrive to match the new you. That's why so many people sabotage their wins, because they never upgraded their identity, so the success feels foreign. But when you embody your future now, when you train your body, mind, and soul to hold success before it shows up, then success feels natural. It feels earned. It feels deserved. You no longer chase it. You attract it. Because you've become the kind of person who is a match for it. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. So raise the standard. Not later. Now. Stand like the leader you keep visualizing. Move like the entrepreneur, the creator, the athlete, the master you claim to want to be. Stop studying how others do it. Become it, own it, repeat it, and the world will adjust accordingly. You cannot become a new version of yourself while clinging to the old one. That version of you, the insecure, the reactive, the self-doubting one, may have protected you once. It may have been necessary for survival in the past, but survival is not your mission anymore. Expansion is. Leadership is. Fulfillment is. And that old identity, with all its coping mechanisms, excuses, and limitations, is no longer fit to lead your life forward. It cannot take you where you say you want to go. And so it must go. It must die. And that death will not be painless. It will not be tidy. It will feel like discomfort. It will feel like fear, like chaos, like identity crisis. Because a part of you is being dismantled. Not because something is wrong, but because something is right. That pain you feel when shedding the old skin is not a sign of failure. It is a birth pain. The old self doesn't go quietly. It resists. It clings. It whispers lies like, "This is too much," or "You're not ready," or "You've never done this before." And it will try to convince you that familiar suffering is safer than unfamiliar power. But you cannot evolve while holding on to what's broken. You cannot walk into your future while still dragging the ghosts of who you used to be. Growth always demands a grieving process. You must grieve the person who tolerated too little and settled for too much. You must grieve the version of you who kept apologizing for their potential, who lowered their volume to make others comfortable, who postponed their dreams in the name of logic or fear. You must let go of old stories, stories that made you feel safe but small. Stories like, "I've always been this way," or "People like me don't succeed," or "It's too late to change." You must stop arguing for your limitations. Stop repeating the trauma as if it's your truth. Stop identifying with your wounds as if they are your essence. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not the fear that has lived rent-free in your mind for years. You are the architect of your next level. And architects don't fix crumbling ruins. They design from vision. They build new structures with intention, precision, and discipline. The same is true for your identity. You don't change your life by fixing the old self. You change it by constructing the future self and living as that version now. You don't wait to feel worthy. You behave in alignment with worth. You don't wait to feel confident. You make decisions like someone who trusts their own power. You don't wait to feel fearless. You act in the presence of fear and prove to your nervous system that you are stronger than it. This process is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about stepping into character over and over again, especially on the days when it's hardest. Because the future is not built in your feelings. It's built in your follow-through. You must stop stepping out of character every time life gets uncomfortable. Every time doubt knocks. Every time your environment doesn't immediately reflect your new identity. Remember, your current reality is just a mirror of your past identity. If you want that mirror to change, you must keep showing up as the new you, even when nothing around you looks different yet. Especially then. That's how momentum is built. That's how identity is forged. Through the daily choice to show up, speak up, act up in alignment with your future, not your history. That's how you create a self that the old you would not even recognize. That's how you earn the life that used to feel impossible. You stay in character, no matter what. Look around, not with passive eyes, but with the awareness of someone who understands that everything around you is either pulling you forward or quietly dragging you back. Your environment is not neutral. It is alive. It is shaping you, training you, programming you, moment by moment. The colors on your walls, the energy in your home, the conversations you tolerate, the habits of the people you allow close, the content you consume when no one is watching. All of it is speaking to your subconscious. And all of it is either aligning you with your future or anchoring you to your past. If you're surrounded by comfort, your hunger fades. If you're surrounded by noise, your inner voice is drowned out. If you are surrounded by people who fear change, who normalize excuses, who worship distraction, then no matter how strong your intentions are, their influence will seep into your system like a slow poison. You become blind to it, until one day you wake up realizing you're living a life that feels foreign to the fire inside you. This is why you must become obsessive about your surroundings. You must audit your environment with brutal honesty. Not someday. Now. Ask yourself, does this space reflect my standards? Does this group challenge my growth? Does this routine feed my vision or feed my comfort? Because the truth is simple but unforgiving. Your environment will always win. You can have the best goals, the best mindset, the best strategy. But if you're swimming upstream in a river of mediocrity, You will tire. You will bend. You will break. So change the water. Shift the current. Build an environment that stretches you. One that doesn't just support your growth, but demands it. Seek rooms that humble you. Conversations that ignite you. Mentors that confront your limitations. Spaces that breathe possibility. Because greatness is not grown in neutral soil. It is grown in environments charged with clarity, intention, and relentless standards. You're not just becoming someone new, you're building a world that makes that version of you inevitable. The question is not, how do I get more? The real question, the one that cuts through all illusion, is, what am I truly prepared to hold without collapsing? Because you don't attract what you chase. You don't attract what you fantasize about late at night. You attract what you're structured to sustain. Life doesn't give you what you wish for. It gives you what your identity can carry, what your nervous system can absorb without short-circuiting, what your habits, thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are calibrated to support. If your mindset is shaky, success won't liberate you. It will overwhelm you. If your sense of self is built on validation and surface image, then wealth won't empower you. It will amplify your insecurity. Fame will expose your void. Pressure will reveal your fractures. So the work is not about chasing more. The work is becoming more. You want to be a magnet for greatness? Then become a vessel that can hold power without leaking. You must expand your capacity, not just for achievement, but for responsibility, for stress, for visibility, for failure, for triumph. You must upgrade the internal architecture that determines what you're able to carry without it collapsing your peace or sabotaging your values. Everyone wants the mountain peak. Few prepare for the altitude. Everyone wants the throne. Few build the spine strong enough to sit in it. This is why shortcuts don't work. This is why strategy without self-mastery is a trap. Because success that arrives before you are ready becomes a curse disguised as a blessing. So what do? You build the foundation, quietly, daily, ruthlessly. You train when no one's clapping. You master your emotions until you are no longer reactive, but deliberate. You build discipline like a fortress, so that desire does not pull you off course. You do the internal work that nobody sees, so you can handle the external rewards that everyone will see. You learn to regulate your nervous system, to stay calm under pressure, to lead from presence instead of panic. That's how you scale your life without burning it down. That's how you don't just rise, you stay elevated. Because getting rich is one level. Staying rich requires a different psychology. Winning once is about momentum. Winning repeatedly is about identity. And identity is not built in the spotlight. It is forged in solitude. It is tested in silence. It is revealed in moments where no one is watching, and everything inside you wants to quit, but you don't. So the next time you ask, why am I not there yet? Flip the mirror. Ask, what part of me isn't ready yet? And start there. Because the moment you are truly ready, the thing you seek will not feel distant. It will feel inevitable. You are standing at the edge of everything you've ever known and everything you're capable of becoming. A threshold, a line in the sand. Behind you is the old story, the patterns that kept you safe but small, the familiar identity that made you feel in control, even if it cost you your potential. In front of you is a new world, a new frequency, a new timeline, encoded with the version of you that is no longer bound by fear, by delay, by the gravity of who you used to be. But here's the truth. Crossing over is not guaranteed. It's a choice. A conscious, relentless, often terrifying decision to no longer negotiate with your limitations. You can stay. You can shrink. You can keep looping through the same safe cycle and call it comfort. Or you can step forward, unarmored, into the unfamiliar, and activate the self that only reveals itself through boldness. The future is not waiting for you. It's watching you. It responds to your standards. It bends to your decisions. It rearranges itself around what you consistently tolerate or refuse to tolerate. You don't stumble into the next level of your life. You architect it with your focus, your rituals, your boundaries, your energy. Every time you say no to distraction, you're building it. Every time you choose discipline over ease, alignment over approval, power over pity, you're laying another brick. You are not here to recycle old chapters and call it growth. You are here to do what only you can do, to build what has never existed before, to disrupt the script handed to you by your past, and write a new one in real time. That transformation doesn't begin when you feel ready. It begins when you act ready, when you stop outsourcing your power, when you stop saying someday and start moving like it's already yours. Because the world will not believe you until you believe you. The new world will not open until you open yourself. It requires embodiment, not more affirmations, not more waiting, but a decision so deep, so total, that you become unrecognizable to the version of you who once settled for less. Success does not arrive by accident. It is summoned by identity. And identity is not what you say you are. It is what you repeatedly do, what you fiercely protect, what you walk like, speak like, live like, especially when no one's watching. So ask yourself, what world are you building with your habits? What future are you calling in with your choices? Because you don't attract what you want. You don't even attract what you believe. You attract what you embody. You attract what you are prepared to live out, with your breath, with your blood, with your discipline. So become it, fully, now, not later, not when it's easy, not when someone validates you. Now. Step through the threshold, and don't look back. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. But understand, this isn't about following content. This is about following a calling. This is not entertainment. This is initiation. Every time you press play, you're not just watching another video. You're entering a new dimension of yourself. A space where your old limits don't belong. A frequency where excuses can't survive. This is where transformation begins, on repeat, in your ears, in your mind, in your bloodstream. So don't just watch. Immerse. Don't just listen. Embody. The new world is here, and it begins with you.